plus 1,000 naira welcome bonus.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Nostalgic feeling on radio. Introducing classic hits from way back.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I bid you welcome once again and a very pleasant morning to you. The Morning Express, of course, begins at 5 a.m. all the way to 11 a.m. and we have gotten to the segment of the show where we refer to our dailies. The segment is called Trends in the Papers. My name is 𝗧𝘂 Babalola, and once again I welcome you to Mainland 98.3 FM. For Trends in the Papers, we'll basically sift through the pages of our various newspapers. We bring to you national stories, a comprehensive, engaging reviews of the most compelling stories that have made it to the front pages of our dailies, whether it be politics, current affairs, business, economics, amongst other things, everything in between. Our goal is basically to keep you informed, to keep you aware, and to keep you engaged, which we are going to do when we finally open the phone lines and our various social media platforms for you to call in and give your contributions. Today is Thursday, which means it is Open Mic Thursday. For this one day of the week, you are not bound by the stories that we select here on radio. It means that you have the opportunity to pick any story of your liking and have a conversation about it for 2 minutes, which is the time allotted to every single caller that makes it through every day on the show. My name once again is 𝗧𝘂 Babalola. I welcome you to the show once again, and for analysis, the analysis we promised you, Fuhad Saheed is on standby, and together we would be having the engaging conversation with reference to our dailies. Fuhad, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Good morning, 𝗧𝘂. How are you doing too?
I'm okay. I'm fine. As fine as every other Nigerian out there, I guess. But it is what it is. So we do
every
have
other Nigerian out there that is trying to be fine.
I mean that's why I mean we can't remove ourselves just because we are on this side, right? I think it's a general experience, but it's all right. Let's look through the papers: the Punch, the Guardian, the Nation, and Vanguard newspaper. Let's start with the Punch, and well, as expected. The top story here, certificate forgery, Atiku Obi protest as BBC fact-checkers clear Tinubu. The riders to this story, BBC says, document confirm President's CSU diploma. APC carpets Atiku Obi. Another rider, PDP Labour Party tackle Tinubu, says certificate issue tarnishing nation's image. Those are the riders. Now let's look briefly at the body of the story. It reads, the camps of the People's Democratic Party standard bearer Atiku Abubakar and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi have protested the BBC report that there is no evidence to back the diploma forgery allegation against President Bola Tinubu. BBC's global disinformation team had in a fact-checking report published on Wednesday said there was no evidence that Tinubu's forged the Chicago State University certificate, which he submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission to contest the February presidential election. So, Fuad, it's a very long read, but for the sake of clarity for our listeners, I'll do the best I can to summarize the entire thing. So, a report was put out by the BBC, their global disinformation team, and that particular report claims that they have analyzed all the diplomas from the CSU that was issued between 1979 and 2003. And if you remember when the whole certificate issue, where especially the one that circulated on social media, came out, people were trying to compare the diploma format that was released by the CSU and the one that was submitted by Tinubu to INEC, and they highlighted some discrepancies like the font, the seal, the wordings, even some of the signatures, amongst other things. Now, this report is saying that with regards to that discrepancy, right, Tinubu asked for a replacement copy from the one that was issued in 1979. He asked for a replacement copy. And the way the CSU is, their format has changed over the years. So if you graduated, say, for example, in 1979, and you, for some reason, lose a copy of your diploma, if you ask for another copy in 2003, for example, the copy you will get would have the same format as the certificate format that is being issued in 2003. You're not going to get the same format of 1979. Whatever template that the CSU is using to issue diploma, the year that you ask for a replacement copy, that is the format in which you're going to get the copy. Hence, the discrepancies that were highlighted from the copy submitted to INEC and the copy that was put out by the CSU. Of course, this has sparked a lot of reaction, ugly reaction. Ugly reaction, I have to say, on social media. People are frantic. Even the PDP, we have Frank Shaibu, who has said that he didn't think the BBC was going to be complicit in this matter, or that they would have been a tool, as he describes them, in this charade or this certificate forgery back and forth. So, Fuad, the BBC is a source that even a lot of broadcasters go to verify their information. Reliable source that they go to verify their information. But even at this time, people still do not believe even the BBC, despite the fact that they are certain that they have checked all the facts and the certificate was not forged. What do you think?
All right, Sage. This particular President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's CSU certificate saga seems to have again expanded my knowledge on something I learned in school years back. And there's this particular theory that I'm so much in love with, because again, it helps determine the way people think. It's a theory of communication called the theory of selectivity. And that theory has 3 levels. And like I said, this recent event, again, have helped me to expand my knowledge of that theory, as propounded, dozens of years ago by communication scholars and all of that. And it talks about selective attention, selective perception, and selective retention. Now, on this CSU matter, people have different perceptions based on their own different biases, emotions, and sentiments. And so no matter what you say, their perception on this issue remains constant, even if the facts suggest otherwise. The same thing, people pay attention, selective attention. They pay attention to what they want to pay attention to, irrespective of what the fact is saying. And also on this same matter, people retain what they want to say, even if the fact suggests that they should do something else. So on this particular matter, whatever we say here, we will not change the minds of the supporters of the president, neither will it change the minds of those that are opposing it. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm with you.
Because their minds are made up, irrespective of what the facts are. So again, it is what it is. Now, let us go to that BBC report. Again, that report was put together by 3 Nigerian journalists.
Yes.
Working for information desk of the BBC. So that's a desk that fact check a lot of things. It's supposed to be a fact check kind of desk. That's why it's called a disinformation desk. On this platform stage, I've always explained that, look, you can have misinformation, but you can also have what is called disinformation and also malinformation. Disinformation in itself comes from the idea to distort the fact, deliberately trying to distort the fact. And that's what the desk has done on this CSU matter. But what I will say is this: there's a big question that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu camp is not answering. And I think the BBC report does not also answer that. Yes, we agree that the diploma issued in the 70s to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if he had misplaced it and called for a replacement, would not have been the same format as the one that was issued in 2000. But the question is this: the big question is this. If the president demanded for replacement, which he alluded to when he was at Chatham House, where did he apply to get a replacement? To the CSU or to a third-party vendor? That's one question. The other question is this: does the CSU permit third-party vendors to issue diploma certificates on their behalf? That's the second question. Then the third question is this. What is the status of diploma certificate in American university? Does it authenticate anything? Does it show anything? Is it just mere ceremonial? Does it invalidate or validate your attendance of a school or a course? So these are their main questions around this particular matter. And like I said, if you leave this matter from now to the next century in the public opinion space, this is the kind of chaos you will get. Sage, are you aware that these 3 journalists that wrote the article?
Oh, they've been attacked.
Look, at some point they have to put their status on social media on private.
Yeah, they've been
because of the barrage of attack that came from Nigerians on them just by doing their job. And again, those are some of the things we face as journalists. So on this matter, say, I think ultimately, the Supreme Court will have a final say.
Well,
but even after the Supreme Court has a final say, the matter will still not end. If you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm totally
the Supreme Court would have a final say on the importance of all of this on the election petitions matter before it. But on the issue of morality, public sentiment, public opinion, and what everybody wants to hold on to on this particular matter, the decision of the Supreme Court will not change that, and it will not end this matter.
With regards to that, Fuad, Peter Obi held the press conference. I'm pretty sure that you're aware about that. And
yes, I listened to it.
Yes, and some part of it, he said that only the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, can really stab this issue and take care of it, completely. He has to personally address the nation, reintroduce himself. He should tell us his name, his nationality, his place of birth, his parentage, primary and secondary school attended, even with the date, the actual universities attended, with the certificate obtained. He should also tell us where he did his NYSC. He should also even indicate if at any point in time he changed his name, which is not a crime. That unless the president personally addressed the nation and answer these series of questions, we most likely will continue to see confusion amongst the supporters and those who antagonize the government. Would you agree with that notion that only the president can address the nation and finally put this matter to rest?
Well, that is if the president considers it very important. You understand?
Yeah.
Only look, it's just like I'm going, just as I'm using my phone now, and then the police stops me to say, I want to see the receipt of your phone. The first question I'm going to ask him is, did anybody tell you that there's a missing phone somewhere that looks like mine? You don't understand what I'm saying. You don't question me when there are no questions around what I think I own, if you understand what I'm saying. So the president, for example, will be asking, did anybody contending my age, my origin, my certificate, especially the approved authorities who are supposed to question me? So again, the thing is this. The president will say, on what basis should I now begin to explain myself? On what basis should I now begin to tell them who gave birth to me or didn't give birth to me? I'm just saying. I'm not saying that in my mind, I think that's what the president will be thinking, that, is anybody questioning my paternity? And just like when this issue of Mohbad issue came up, say, if you remember, and then some busybodies were questioning the DNA of the child. And I said that, look, the only person that can question Mohbad's son's DNA, paternity, is Mohbad himself. And finally, he has died. Every other busy person out there, busybody out there, does not have that right to question the paternity of that child. You understand what I'm saying? So, again, when it comes to certificates and all of that, again, all of this is still left in the hand of the president and his handlers, and then the PDP and the Labour Party to decide what they want to make of it. Say, I have thought that at this stage, the presidential election petitions are decided on the petitions before it. And the case has now moved to the next level, which is the apex court. What were the things we were inundated with as the legal tussle at the appeal court? It was on 25% Abuja, right?
Yes.
Whether Abuja, 25% was important in Abuja. It was on the real-time transmission of results. Whether INEC had the right, to drop the ball the way they dropped it in the transmission of results. It was also on the issue of cancelled votes. Some votes that were illegally declared and all of that. I thought that would be the concentration of our petitioners. That's from the Labour Party, the PDP, and the APM going into the Supreme Court. Because again, one would have thought that would be the concentration more legal fireworks will be coming at the Supreme Court. But now, are you aware that somehow we have put all of that aside?
Yes.
And the only thing we are talking about is the state of the president now.
We're easily distracted.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trained to be that distracted. I'm not trained to lose focus that easily. But again, I'm not Mr. Peter Obi. I'm not Mr. Atiku Abubakar. I am who I am. And by my own training and orientation, you are trained to keep your eyes on the ball. Focus more on tangible things. I'm not trained to go on a fishing expedition only to come back with an empty basket. But again, it is what it is. If there are things that are germane enough that would help the case of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, because Mr. Peter Obi yesterday did not really talk about the law. He was just talking about morality. All of the things he said yesterday was about morality. Atiku Abubakar's team and himself were talking more about the law, and they thought that whatever they got at the CSU was going to help their case at the Supreme Court. In all of this, I think we just hold our arms, wait for the Supreme Court to have a say on this. But I know that in the court of public opinion, the matter would not still go away.
All right, then you can get more information on page 2 and 3 of the Punch newspaper. Oh, I should mention very briefly, the last part of this particular report in the Punch, we have Atiku's special assistant on public communication,
Frank Tvæ.
He has also criticized, the president that since he became president, 135 days, he has only met with his cabinet once. And considering the fact that you have one of the largest cabinets in Nigeria's history, you would expect that you have more meetings with them and see activities of your cabinet. So Frank Tvæ is also criticizing the absence of the president and collaborative work that we expect to see between himself and his cabinet members. Do you think that's a problem?
I think since he became president, FEC, that's the Federal Executive Council meeting, has only been held, I think, once or twice. And since the United Nations General Assembly meeting, where we saw the president make speeches and all of that, only for him to make a tour to France, we have not really seen him in public space. Yes, there have been pictures of him having one or two meetings in recent time. Yeah. There have been questions around the appearance of the president in the public or at events. Understand what I'm saying? But again, there are still questions as to the fact that, look, what's happening? We've not really seen the president in public, as much in recent times. But again, I think we'll continue to dig into that. We are keeping our eyes on that. Why the president has not so much been available in the public space. But it's something that we can't say so much about for now until we have all the details and facts.
Right. Page 2 and 3 of the Punch newspaper has this particular report. Please, it's not time for us to start taking phone calls, all right, Barrister Peter Oko, please. It's not time for us to start. Yeah, calm down. Yes, it's not time yet, okay? But we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, all right? So you can go on there and drop your comments real time. As we're going through the stories, if you have something to say about each story as it is being analyzed, just drop your comments using the live chat option on Facebook, and we are streaming on Facebook. So go to Facebook, Mainland 98.3 FM. That's all you need to put in the search bar, and you would immediately be directed to our streaming platform on Facebook. So if you want to say something regarding a story immediately, just drop the comment there. When I come back at 8:40 a.m., I'll be sure to read that particular comment. So we're still looking at the front page of the Punch newspaper. We have another story here. Lower inflation, protect poor citizens, IMF tells Nigeria. All right. The International Monetary Fund on Tuesday commended the Nigerian government for removing the fuel subsidy, but noted that efforts must be made to protect poor citizens from the high cost of living crisis. Specifically, Fuad, I'll get to it.
I know.
I want to tell you what they said. Specifically, the Washington-based lender said the federal government must complement the fuel subsidy removal with a set of policies that could help lower the inflation and protect the most vulnerable citizens. Now, Assistant Director Fiscal Affairs Department, IMF, Era Dabla Norris, said this on Tuesday at the ongoing World Bank IMF annual meetings in Marrakesh, Morocco. So, Fuad, they're actually encouraging some sort of policy re-evaluation. Yes, but their policy is mostly on taxation. This is what... let me summarize.
So that's how to help the.
Fuad, let me summarize, because it was a
I'm
very
waiting.
lengthy
I am waiting.
advisory. So let me summarize. First things first, they said that the revenue to GDP ratio is low. So what we
We
need
know
to
that.
do is revenue collection should be done in an efficient manner, because Nigeria has untapped tax potential. They also said
Okay.
that the budget should.
Wait, that's why what they are saying is that the government should widen the tax net.
Yes, there's a lot of money
No,
we can
let's-
make from
Let's
taxation.
tie everything together. They are talking about vulnerable Nigerians, poor Nigerians.
Yeah.
What government should do to help them?
Yes.
So I'm waiting for that specific one about vulnerable Nigerians. This one, widen tax net, more money for government. Let's move.
Well, you might not get the answer to that question, because they also said the budget should include policies on education, health, and other important sectors. They said
So
expanding.
wait now, don't move.
Fuad, I just-
What should happen to education, health, and all? Should it be made free? They should be specific. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the thing is, like, more money should be put into that in the budget.
Is that what
They
they are
should-
saying?
Yes. The budget should include policies. Those are their exact words. I'm trying not to paraphrase so that we're not anything. Yes. So I'm trying to say
I've actually read the report.
Yes,
but
I'm
you're-
trying to say exactly what they said. The budget should include policies on education, health, and other important sectors. They also said expand tax bases, reduce expenditures, and also exemptions in value-added tax, meaning that there should be no tax waivers or tax relief for certain individuals, or just minimize the amount of people that you grant these tax waivers and tax reliefs to. So reduce exemptions in value-added tax, expand the tax base, reduce expenditure, rationalize other types of taxes, and strengthen the quality of tax institution, and also cut your spending or reprioritize your spending. So that's what they said.
Okay.
Basically, they're talking about taxes. Increase the tax bracket, reduce tax waivers or exemptions in taxes, rationalize other types of taxes, meaning that introduce, other types of taxes, and then minimize expenditure or reprioritize your spending. Spend on important things. That's basically the summary of their advisory.
Well, I was waiting for the part of the report where they also advised that again, interest rate should also go up.
Oh yeah. They always say that increase your interest rate. That many countries have maximized that. They've used that to improve their economy. They've always said that increase your.
Well, again, I don't think there's anything the IMF has said here that is anything different from what the government is saying and their advisors. They've always talked about increasing the tax net, which I think the government will do aggressively. They've talked about the fact that
aggressively.
yes, this government is looking for money. So they've talked about the fact that all MDAs agencies are going to be revenue generation agencies. So everybody has to go out there and look for money. And if you look at the antecedent of this president when he was the governor of Lagos, if you understand why I'm saying that, we are going to see an era where a lot of people are going to be knocking at your doors and offices, to pay all manner of things. So that's going to happen. But the problem is this stage, which the IMF is not addressing. I like the fact that they've addressed us reprioritizing our spending pattern, our expenditure pattern.
Yeah.
It's very key. Because again, myself and Sandra have always had this endless debate as to what the problem of Nigeria is, whether it's about revenue or expenditure. And I say it's in both ways. So again, we need to reprioritize our expenditure, our spending patterns. And I think that should go basically to things that can directly affect the people. For example, education. I still believe that, look, if we prioritize our spending pattern, our expenditure, there's no reason why Nigerians, now that we've removed subsidy, according to the government, and we seem to be making enough money now, and we're hoping to make more money, and there's no reason why we should not have free and qualitative education, at all levels for Nigerians at this time. I say free and qualitative because it's about us re-strategizing our spending pattern and making it a priority to make sure that we educate Nigerians, irrespective of their social and economic status. And I say it has to be free and qualitative because we can do it if we make it a priority. You understand what I'm saying? Also, health, the health sector. This is the time that the government should also, instead of wasting money on white elephant projects, overfeeding the overfed, we should put those monies into the health sector in a way where Nigerians can have access to free and qualitative health care. Maternal health care, the general hospitals, government hospitals, public hospitals should be extremely well equipped at this time to take care of the health needs of Nigerians. These are the things I expect the government to put money into, not sharing rice and beans. You understand? In the name of palliative, that will eventually end up in the hands of political cronies and politicians. So I expect that the IMF should have been more specific about these things and not just leaving it open to the interpretation of our politicians who now interpret it in their own way to suit their own interest.
Right.
So again, say the other one they didn't mention is corruption.
Right.
The monster in the room.
Wow. I mean,
We have to
can
take
you
that monster
advise
thing.
what could the IMF possibly say that would
About corruption.
I mean, what could it possibly say
They
that
should say it, even if it doesn't, if eventually what they say would not still change anything. But let them say it. And say that, hey, Nigerians, your major problem is corruption, which is the biggest monster in the room. And until you chase it out of the room, there's no peace, there's no progress anywhere for anybody. It's the biggest problem we have, say. Vested interest, corruption. We don't tackle that monster, chase it out completely. Look, make all the monies in the world. There is a corruption structure in the country that will swallow it all.
Well, Fuad, I also want us to review this aspect of the report, the debt forgiveness. Yes, there was a conversation about, appeals of some kind that the IMF should forgive the debts that we owe. Basically, just, allow us go. It has happened before, I believe, in the Obasanjo regime, right? Yes. So they appealed to the IMF, at least, okay, forgive us for all the money that we've borrowed from you. But then the IMF says... So the IMF says, God forbid bad thing. It's not possible. Because, Nigeria's total debt stock is $113.4 billion. And that is as at June this year. And we've borrowed many other, other monies at this time. And most of our debts are domestic. And the IMF is saying, just not Nigeria. We have other sub-Saharan African countries that they're even owing us, and they still need money. Almost $80 billion has gone from the IMF, being lended to other sub-Saharan African countries. So to ask that we forgive that amount of money is just delusional. And that even if there's going to be debt forgiveness, it will be on a country-to-country basis. So they will look at the country, they will look at how terrible their situation is. Okay, what can we do for them?
Yes, how responsible they are with their fiscal and monetary policy.
Thank you.
So
that's what will come to play, that they're not just going to outrightly forgive that. Do you agree with the IMF? Or personally, don't you think it's rather delusional that we just approach the IMF and ask that, please forgive us all the money that we've borrowed from you? We cannot pay.
I can't disagree with the IMF on their money.
Right.
Their money. I can't disagree with them if they take a position on debt forgiveness. If they want to forgive us, well, I think we'll be happy.
They are not even forgiving. They are not forgiving.
And I can't blame them for not forgiving us of our debt. Because again, we have a situation where we have been extremely reckless with our borrowing pattern. And that's why the DMO, the Debt Management Office, has been shouting that the debt situation of the country is not sustainable. Even though the window of debt is still there for us to continue to borrow, as it is, our debt to our revenue ratio, debt to GDP ratio, is still around about 30-something%. So we still have that window to understand. But the question is not even us having the capacity to borrow more. The question is, when we borrow, what do we do with the money? Just yesterday, we're reviewing the papers. The new Minister of Works is saying that, look, all over the Federation, we are owing contractors about 10 trillion naira. It's unbelievable, say, that the total money is about 14 trillion for the road projects that are being handled by the federal government. We've only been able to pay contractors about 4 trillion, that we are still owing about 10 trillion naira. So you ask yourself, all of these debts hanging on the neck of the country, where did the money go to? And most likely we are still going to borrow more, because going forward the next year now, we're going to be running the budget deficit as projected of trillions of naira. More than 10 trillion will still be on the deficit to run our budget next year. So it means that most likely, no matter what we do to show up revenue, we'll still have to borrow.
Well, you can get more information on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Please be aware once again that we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so please do well to join us. I see everybody who is currently watching us via Facebook. Thank you so much for your participation. Join us on Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM, and like I said, you can take advantage of the streaming platform and drop your submissions in real time, so I read them when we start taking submission. We have here diphtheria kills 600 in 19 states. NPHCDA recommends government face masks. Now, the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, on Wednesday said 19 states and the Federal Capital Territory have recorded over 14,000 suspected cases of diphtheria so far. Shuaib, however, disclosed that over 10,000 of the cases occurred in Kano State, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. On Health Plus, I think about 2 weeks ago, we had the state epidemiologist for the Ministry of Health in Kano State, Dr. Abdullahi Karamata, join us to talk to us about the major challenges with regards to diphtheria that they're facing in Kano State. Fuhad, are we seeing another epidemic of some kind? Because they've started recommending face masks at this time. Are we going to see another coronavirus era? Do you think that we're doing enough to tackle this problem? Because it wasn't supposed to be this bad, but then we're seeing reports in the tens of thousands, 14,000 reported cases, not to talk of the unreported cases, especially in rural areas.
Okay, well, what I think is that it's not going to be as bad as the coronavirus era. We probably will not say lockdown. It's not going to happen. But I think we need to pay attention because the death toll seems to be rising. The infection rates are also rising and also spreading across more states of the country. I think it started with 2 or 3 states in the north, but I think it's going across now.
Yes.
And we need to pay attention. So it has to be a call to the government at the different state level because somehow, we just need these things to state government, to the federal government to tackle. I think this is the time for us to activate again our disease prevention centers, to begin to at least start advocacy, begin to advise people on what is going on with diphtheria. I'm sure if you ask the average person out there, probably this is the first or second time they are listening to us, they are hearing the word diphtheria. And it's been there. The infection rates are going up. More states are getting into the conversation on the number of infections and deaths. And so I think this is the time for serious advocacy, publicity on what Nigerians need to do. I can see that there are recommendations already that people should start to use their nose masks again, and all of that. So I think government should just quickly start to sensitize Nigerians on this epidemic that seems to be coming.
All right, page 12 of the Punch newspaper, you get more report. I'm trying to up the pace a little bit. Now, EFCC recovers 27 billion naira, $19 million. Probes ex-governors, ex-ministers. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has recovered a combined sum of 27,184,357,000 in naira and about $19 million from 3 different money laundering cases, as further efforts are being made by the anti-graft agency to recover more illicit funds. Now, the Punch reports that the anti-graft agency is also carrying out ongoing investigation into some monumental procurement fraud involving some officials of the Federal Ministry of Power and the Ministry of Agriculture. We also have here that the anti-graft agency has seized several houses in the Federal Capital Territory, in Lagos, in Cross River State, which are proceeds of funds meant for the Mambila and Zungeru power projects that were diverted through sundry Bureau de change operators. Fuad, yes. Fuad, some of the states being highlighted, the FCT, Lagos, Cross River, although EFCC has told us that they would be revealing, names and more information as the investigation, progresses. But as at this time, they have not given us specific names. They just gave us the states, the amount of money that has been recovered, and some of the projects that they think these funds were diverted from. Fuad, we've always seen the EFCC, do work like this. It's usually what happens after that becomes something of a clandestine scenario. We don't know what happened, who was arrested, who exactly were you investigating. We don't get any information at the end of the day. Do you think that's what's going to happen to this as well, or you see an improvement in the efficiency of the EFCC?
This report by the EFCC would have been fantastic if, as they are giving us the figures of monies recovered and how they recover them, they also attach names to it.
Well, they quizzed a former minister of power, Olu Agunloye, over an alleged $6 billion build, operate, and transfer contracts. That's the only name here.
Yeah, that's the only name.
Yes.
Names to come up. And as they are also attaching names, we are also hearing that these people are standing trial already in different courts of law in the country, and hopefully get conviction. So that's a form of deterrence. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know the EFCC works on the doctrine of plea bargaining. You know, if you are able to bring out the money, you plea and all of that, you are left off the hook, blah, blah, blah. I think that we should also revisit plea bargaining. Because if there are Nigerians for stealing monies that are not even up to $1 million, languishing in jail, because they've not been able to access the court to hear their case and all of that, we should get some of these big, quote and unquote, big thieves, stand trial and be convicted and sent to jail properly. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So yes, it's good that, again, I still have questions as to the leadership of the EFCC now. Until now, Mr. Rashid Bawa is still out of public space. He's still in detention. Nobody knows his status. Nobody knows what is happening to him and all of that. And we should question that because, again, these are little things that matter when we talk about the EFCC. What is going on with Mr. Bawa? Is he out of office? Is he standing trial? Who is investigating him? You know, there are questions around that. But on what they've been able to do so far, as reviewed by the EFCC, very good one. But we expect more details. We expect more information as to who are the guys, who these monies have been collected from. What's happening? Are they arrested? Are they going to stand trial? Are they standing trial already? So that we can get our big thieves, you know, sent to jail as a nation. It's important.
All right. Page 14 of the Punch newspaper, you get more information. Also here on the front page of the Punch, Ohanaeze hails Igboho's release, asks Tinubu to free Kanu. That is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. We have here the Apex Igbo Social Cultural Organization, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, has appealed to President Bola Tinubu to withdraw all charges against the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Ohanaeze said the appeal comes in light. So just as bad, but then he expects that the same gesture dropped. Do you a fair request?
I'm one of the people that believe that this Nnamdi Kanu thing should be sorted out using a political solution. I strongly believe that we should look at the option of a political solution to resolving this Nnamdi Kanu issue. Yes, Sunday Igboho has been released. You know, he was not arrested in Nigeria.
Yeah, in Benin.
The case was against the Benin government.
Yeah.
Whatever has led to his release is a thing for, you know, the Benin government, you know, to explain. But his release is, I think, he's in Germany now with his family. Those are some of the things we say again about activities of people like this. You know, when his house was invaded in Oyo State, in fact, you know, there are people that died in that incident.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Sunday Igboho is in Germany now with his family, cooling off and enjoying himself. But I don't want to go too much into that. But I think that I think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should begin to look at a political solution to resolving this Nnamdi Kanu issue. Yes, should he be released? I think he should be released. How should he be released? I think with some stringent conditions. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think a number of Igbo leaders and some even governors have said that, look, they are ready to work with the federal government on how to release him, the conditions to release him, to ensure that, again, there are no troubles coming from whatever he may be doing after his release. So I think the leaders of the Southeast, elder statesmen from the Southeast, can work with the president. I think the president should listen to them, unlike his immediate predecessor, and find a political solution to this Nnamdi Kanu issue.
Right. Page 8 of the Punch newspaper has more details. Let's look at this final story here. Lagos demolishes structures obstructing drainages. We have here on page 14 of the Punch newspaper, it reads, the Lagos State government has embarked on a round of demolition in the Lekki area of Lagos State. The exercise began on Wednesday as structures causing setbacks along the Ikota drainage channel were demolished. It was gathered that the owners of the affected structures had been served a series of contravention notices well over 2 decades ago. Also, similar structures at the Gede community last month. For the demolition exercises are somewhat necessary, right? But then, as much as it is not the fault of the government that people decided to build stalls and structures along, the drainage drainage channels. Thank you for that. Do you think that the government should be a part of relocating those people? Again, I say it's definitely not the government's fault that people made that mistake. But since they are demolition, do you think the government should participate in at least assisting those people to relocate, their shops somewhere else?
Well, maybe for sake of humanity, for sake of the fact that, these are also Lagosians who most likely have been pushed into this illegality, as a result of prevailing economic situation of the country, as the government can act on that. We want to see how to maybe relocate them if the options are there. But on the immediate government will reform and the jointed development, Lagos has to be Lagos. If it must be a mega city, it has to be a functional mega city in terms of development, town planning regulations, and infrastructure. And I think the government also needs to wake up, because these illegal infrastructures or structures don't just come up overnight. It takes years for these things to come up. So the government should be proactive, not reactive. As soon as they notice developments of illegal structures in places, go out there and stop them before they become a big problem like this. You understand what I'm saying? Because at least for you to build thousands of shops along great channels of buildings, it must have taken years to do. So the town planning authority should wake up and ensure that illegal structures don't even come up at all. Not to the point where you now start to demolish them.
Right. Well, that's it for the Punch newspaper. We're about to move now to the Guardian newspaper. Well, the reports across all the papers are quite similar. In the papers on mainland, 9 lines that I have reeled out. We're live on Facebook. For the Guardian newspaper, the top story, Forex. Arbitrary rules leave telecoms to Big Four, cripples 568 firms. So for this particular report is a little technical and maybe might be too complex to break down. But basically what they're telling us here is that the telecom industry is going through a severe depletion. We have about 568 firms that have become moribund at this time. We just have few companies who are like the bigwigs, right? The service providers that are able to weather the storm. Yes, in the face of Forex crisis, the taxation, amongst other things, and we might see a major crisis in the telecommunication sector of the country.
I think the story is so easy now, Sage. It is what it is. Like every other sector, not just the telecom sector. Look at even the downstream sector. We talked about it, I think, on Tuesday. People have licenses. They can't even have access to Forex to import anything. So the same thing would happen. If you look at the cost of energy, overhead costs, maintenance of facilities, and running the business in the telecom sector, a lot of the activities are also heavily dollarized. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's only the big guys that will be able to function in that kind of situation. And that's what is happening. So I think it's just a further highlight of the fact that, look, different sectors in the country are suffering as a result of this Forex crisis, and the telecom sector is not an exemption.
Well, you can get more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. On page 3, we have politicians corner 70% recruitment into tertiary institution, says TED Fund. The Guardian reports that the Executive Secretary of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Sonny Echano, yesterday lamented the interference of politicians in the recruitment of staff into tertiary institution. This came as the act glorified sector. He tells us that politicians now have a way of interfering with the recruitment process, nepotism of the highest order. They determine who is hired into what university, and that universities are now slowly becoming, secondary schools. So,
they call them glorified
secondary schools, especially federal universities.
The politicians put hand in everything. They even decide who becomes Oba, who becomes Pale, who becomes chief. So again, there's always a list. For you to get a job now, and it's unfortunate. In any of the public universities now, you must know somebody somewhere that knows somebody to link you up with somebody that will now get you the job. And you have politicians have handled everything. Check the civil service, for example. Do you think you can get a job in any civil service job now without knowing somebody that knows somebody? Even to get admission, for your time to secure admission into a public school now, you must begin to look for a politician to help you out. And that's why the quality has dropped. Because the best, and for example, the most brilliant people, they don't know it's not the job. But
Fuad, we can't hear you. Hello?
I don't know why, people are even thinking that private university should be part of tech.
Yes, actually, Fuad, it says here, like, ASU president ASU president is saying that private universities should not be beneficiaries of
At all.
agency
They are making
projects.
money now.
Like, why
Yes,
are
now.
you there? That there will be a proliferation of private universities and they will get to enjoy the benefit of, TED Fund agency projects. TED Fund should cater to the government universities and leave
I
private
agree.
universities to do their own thing. You agree?
The private universities are already collecting millions of naira from
Well.
the TED Fund is supposed to take care of public schools. I agree completely. I don't know how that will even come into the conversation, that private universities also want to benefit from TED Fund, which comes as a result of taxes collected to fund universities. No. I think it should just be for public schools. But we should also ensure that there's probity and accountability. Because there are also questions about how the TED Fund monies are being managed.
Well,
Again, so many problems to deal with.
Well, page 3 of the Guardian newspaper has this report. Let's just read through the other headlines here because we've addressed them earlier. We have here EFCC recovers 41.78 billion from power project, ex-AGF's ally, others. CSU certificate, Obi backs Atiku, asks Tinubu to disclose real identity. Police arrest undergraduate for killing club owner in sexcapade. Okay. Israel-Hamas crisis. I've been through enough today. I really don't. Israel-Hamas crisis. I've been through so much. I don't want to do this. I've been through a lot. Israel-Hamas crisis. Nigerians must resist division. Tension, says Christian Association of Nigeria. Nigerians are the most unbelievable people. I mean, I love us, but we're very unbelievable. The fact that we have personalized a crisis between Israel and Palestine and we're fighting each other because we think it's a religious battle, it just beats me, to be honest. I don't know what to say about that. But the Christian Association of Nigeria has said, let's just resist the tension and let's resist division. Okay, Lagos Blue Line Rail goes electric, increases daily trips to 54. So more development with regards to the Blue Line Rail. They're going to activate the electricity for the train and they would increase the daily trip to 54. Although there's going to be a brief suspension in activities for them to go through this activation process. That
People should not cross the rail line. That is the most
is
important
electric,
thing.
you will shock. Please. And
Electric.
vandals.
And don't even try to touch it or
Don't try
vandalize
to
it.
vandalize it, you will shock. That's the thing. It's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Very briefly, let me run through the headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Nigeria lead demand for Africa's debt relief from IMF, which IMF have said, God forbid. We also have here why governors cannot ban mining activities by Alake. Yes, Fuad, some governors have banned mining activities, I think in Kaduna State, among others, because of insecurity. And also, they say they're trying to regulate the sector so that they can make money from
That is
it.
on the exclusive list. So it's not even.
Yeah, so
Alake,
yes, they're saying it's not in your jurisdiction. You're not the one to ban activities of mining in your state. It's on the federal government to make that decision. You can approach us, talk to us about your challenges, and then we will do the right thing. So also here on the front page of the Nation newspaper, federal government orders road contractors back to site. Work to begin on 60 projects. Tinubu needs to reintroduce himself, says APC. That is it for the Nation newspaper.
I need to reintroduce myself.
Yeah, Fuad, we know who you are. We know who you are.
How you know?
We know who you are.
That's all people.
And Vanguard newspaper, finally, APC will be at war over Tinubu. We have here former governors, ex-ministers, others under investigation. Inflation, protect poor people from high energy prices, IMF to federal government. Yes, by increasing tax. It is well. Senate Lagos moves to end Apapa gridlock. And finally, Southeast zone crucial to Nigeria's development, says President Tinubu. And that is it for trends in the papers for this morning. We've had an exciting time reviewing the stories. We're going to go on a brief commercial break and we'll be back by 8:40 a.m. That is for Mainland Focus. That is the period where we start to take your submissions via Facebook, via the phone lines, via WhatsApp, and via text messages. My name is Sage Babalola. Thank you for coming along with us. Fuad would also be with us at 8:40 a.m. for more analysis, and then we can take your own submission. Don't go anywhere. This is the sound of Lagos, Mainland 98.3 FM.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Come on, give me some sugar. Yeah, I want my sugar. Golden penny noodles. Yeah, that's where I get my sugar.
Golden Penny noodles comes in jollof chicken flavor, goat meat pepper soup flavor, jollof hot flavor, and the newly improved chicken flavor. Now available in a new pack.